This is one of America's most valuable natural resources, crushed limestone and natural aggregate. Strong, durable, stable, inexpensive. Natural and available with a very low impact on the environment. Limestone and aggregate are unique natural resources, and their use makes an important contribution to our economy, while simultaneously the extraction process can mold land and improve the environment for future use. In fact, many new developments like this one were once aggregate mines, and after the usable resources were extracted, the land was prepared to fit another need for a growing population: residential development. And there are many other examples of the reuse of mined lands for community use, industrial growth, and for recreation. The amount of crushed limestone and aggregate we use every day is astounding. The average new home will use over 150 tons. A city street uses over 200 tons per block. Country roads use 1,000 tons per mile, and interstate highways use 85,000 tons per mile. Now, to keep our farm fields producing, Iowa farmers apply nearly 3 million tons of limestone or ag lime to their fields each year. Over 40 million tons of crushed stone and aggregate are used in Iowa every year, and that's nearly 14 tons for every man, woman, and child. You'd think that such a basic natural material would be available everywhere and forever, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Limestone and aggregate occur only where nature put them, not where people need them. Some areas of our country and even parts of our state are entirely devoid of usable limestone and aggregate, and some potential sources are inaccessible, buried far too deep under topsoil, making them uneconomical to mine. And still other sources lack the necessary chemical makeup to be useful in construction or agriculture. Mankind also factors into the scarcity with development. In Maryland, for instance, 80% of the state's valuable stone and aggregate reserves have been lost to development. Now, to prevent this loss, some states like California and provinces like Ontario in Canada now require cities to define mining reserves just like any other natural resource. Here in Iowa, many of our counties have abundant and accessible supplies of limestone and aggregate. But it's important to recognize that the availability of this valuable natural resource, just like any natural resource, is limited, and therefore it needs to be carefully preserved for future generations. Here in Iowa, the origins of our stone and aggregate resources is quite interesting. The geology of our state involves ancient inland seas and much more recent glacial activity.
Well, the geology of Iowa is very interesting. Many people, geologist types, refer to it as pancake geology. It's that layered effect with the sedimentary rocks that we have in Iowa deposited in shallow inland seas. There were periods of deeper inland seas where very fine material was deposited, periods of lesser depths of water that were very favorable for a variety of sea life forms, even to the point of developing coral reefs. And in fact, the town of Coralville is named because of the fossil corals that are so abundant in the native bedrock. Pick up a rather light piece of stone here, but it's very fossiliferous with coral material, stromatoporoid material, and composes this thick ledge up here of like a ancient coral reef. But today, in their current positioning, the rock layers dip or slope from the northeast to the southwest, such that rocks that are exposed along the Mississippi River Valley in northeast Iowa, right at the land surface, here in Iowa City and Johnson County, for example, are buried to a depth of about 1,500 feet by glacial sediments, and the dominant resources out west for aggregate materials are sand and gravel versus limestone or dolomite resources in south central central and eastern Iowa. Glacially in Iowa, we're looking at deposits that are somewhat over 2 million years old for the oldest units in the state. The most recent is the Wisconsin that covered north central Iowa, coming down from Minnesota. Of course, gave us our very valuable land resource for agriculture. But where those deposits are very thick, it's not economical to strip the soils materials and operate a quarry, for example.
This geology, the limestone formations and natural glacial deposits, and especially their availability, helped build our state. They play a vital role in our agricultural success, and their continued accessibility will play a large role in our state's continued prosperity.
It's a state that's really known for its beautiful land. Iowa means beautiful land. It's between the two major rivers, the Mississippi and the Missouri River. And we're a state that has a tremendous transportation network. And that transportation network was built with limestone. It's so critical because we're a major agriculture producing state, and we need to make sure that we can ship our products to the market of the rest of the country as well as the world. The consequences of not having the resource would be to make things much more expensive and to put us in an uncompetitive situation. That would not be good. It would drive up the cost of living, and it would put us in a situation where we wouldn't have the opportunity to grow. But it's also important that we do strategic planning for the future and plan how we're going to be able to continue to stay competitive and build the kinds of new buildings and transportation infrastructure that we need, that's going to make Iowa an attractive place to live, work, and raise a family in the 21st century.
The mining of limestone and natural aggregate has certainly changed over the years. Today, despite its basic appearance, the process is quite sophisticated. Specific needs require specific physical and chemical properties, particular types and sizes. Specification and testing of construction materials is covered not only by national standards, but oftentimes stringent local specifications. A relatively new mining development is becoming more commonplace to accommodate ever-increasing growth and development. Subterranean extraction or underground mining. Oftentimes, costlier underground mining is the only way to fill the need for quality building materials. Today's industry requires sophisticated equipment, heavy capital investment, knowledge and care for the environment, and a real concern for the community's future. And this concern for the future starts with producers and communities being good neighbors today.
90% of the conflict that comes from looking at or experiencing a processing plant occurs within the first 15 to 20 feet. If we can screen that off or buffer that, we've eliminated the major source of the difficulties that industry has with communities. We've sited plants in absolutely flat terrain that no one can see because of the way it was site planned. We sited it on terraces, people looking down on it, that we've screened 95% of the operation. So front-end planning, a little bit of forethought on how you handle your earth materials, how you locate your processing plant, how you enter your site will reduce a lot of the potential conflicts.
Coexistence and cooperation with responsible mining operations in our communities is just the beginning of our careful use of our valuable aggregate resources. Long-range planning by municipalities and area commissions are vital to help preserve and wisely utilize these limited natural resources. The mining industry also recognizes its role, not only as suppliers, but as temporary architects of the land. With the opportunity and ability to reshape the land to fulfill needs as diverse as community use, industrial growth, recreation, agricultural lands, and even wetland creation.
We used to call it conservation of land and resources. By that I mean, here we take a piece of farmland or forest land, extract the sand, gravel, or stone out of it. In the process of extracting the sand, gravel, and stone, we build a new environment or a new landscape that's suitable for housing, for more farmland, for recreation, for industrial sites, whatever is appropriate for that particular area of the community.
I think it's only been recently that we've begun to fully understand the significant social, economic, environmental value of wetland. President Bush said we'll have no net loss of wetlands as a national policy in the country. And of course, folks want to see something happen in a short as possible period of time. And I think you have to be more patient. It's only through the planning process that you get to the point where you begin to look at what you can do with the property after the mining has been completed. And there are examples all across the country of some just spectacular wildlife reserve areas and wetland areas that have been created through the mining and reclamation of these lands.
We're blessed with these abundant natural resources. We want to use them wisely and preserve it so that future generations will have the benefit of not only a good quality of life and jobs and transportation network that we built with these natural resources, but recreational places and opportunity to enjoy the beauty of the outdoors as well.
Limestone and natural aggregate are unique resources, natural, strong, inexpensive, yet extremely valuable, available. But just like any number of our resources, they can be lost forever without our understanding and careful management. It's up to us, communities, producers, governments, and individuals, to plan responsibly for our future.